Hey guys, coming at you today with a really simple recipe, but it's a video I've never done. I actually have this recipe in my biscuit video, so I'll link that up there for you. It is a raspberry jam. I think I did strawberry jam in that video, but raspberry jam is a staple of my bakery right now because I use it for a recipe I'm going to be showing you soon, and for my cream cheese Danish recipe, which I'll link that up there. I put strips along the cream cheese to make it a raspberry cream cheese. I also do this recipe with strawberries and blueberries and a bunch of other different fruit because then you can just add it to different things. So I love having it on hand for all the different applications. You can put it into frostings to make it raspberry. You can put it into brownies. You can put it into the middle of cupcakes to have like a raspberry filling inside. You can make cake and put it as a layer in the cake, which I did for my wedding cake. So I'll link some wedding cake videos throughout here too. I did a bunch of different fillings on those too. So today we're going to be making this, and it's super simple but super versatile. So let's get started. So like I said, I use this for a bunch of different recipes. So I'm making a huge batch today, but it's easily divided and multiplied because there's only 2 ingredients: berries or fruit of some kind and allulose. And I put in a little extra allulose than a regular jam recipe because allulose is only 70% as sweet as regular sugar. So my normal ratio is 3/4 of a cup to 8 ounces of berries, but it all depends on how sweet your berries are. If you have super ripe fresh berries, you definitely don't want to be using a bunch of extra, sweetener. So this is really to taste. And also a squeeze of lemon juice would always be good. I heard it helps develop the pectin in the fruit to make it thick, but I don't always have fresh citrus on hand. And of course you get the great value and you can't open the packages correctly. It still isn't open. That's when knives come in handy. But I have a lot of berries here, so I'm going to be using a lot... Oh, wrong pot. I'm going to be using a lot of allulose. You can always try your frozen berries too before you add your allulose. None of these bags are going to open apparently. And when I say this is simple, I mean it's really simple. The hardest part is knowing when to stop cooking it. So I will definitely be showing you that. So I'm going to have to do some math here because I have 36 ounces. So that's 4.5 times this recipe. So 3/4 and 3/4 is 1.5 cups. That's another 1.5 cups. That's 3 cups. And then another 1/2 cup-ish. So 3.5 cups of sweetener for me. But like I said, it's to taste. Also, you want to make sure you have if you're getting the frozen ones, where'd it go? Sometimes they have like pieces you don't want in them. You can always pull it out at the end though too, if you see any stems or anything. I actually had some stems in the last one. I was making my, raspberry thumbprints is another one that I use this for. And this whole thing is going to make 32-ounce quart. This guy full of jam. And when I got to the end, there was actually some stems in the jam. So definitely keep an eye out if you're using it for baking and whatnot. So we're going to get the allulose in here. I will link down below the Amazon link for the allulose I get. I get a 20-pound box at a time, but I use it for all of the stuff that I heat and cook, and I use it for my lemon bars and pecan bars and all my ice cream recipes pretty much. My sweet and dense milk and my bread recipe. So I use it all summer long for my ice creams, jams, all that stuff. You can use monk fruit or erythritol in this, but when it cools, you might get a little bit of like a grainy crystallized texture to it, which I don't prefer, so that's why I love using the allulose. You can also do chia seed pudding, but that's not this recipe. I personally hate chia seeds, so it's not one that I ever make, because I've tried chia seed pudding several times and I can't get over the texture. I might try to get my babe into it because I know they're healthy for you. And hey, maybe if I was exposed to that texture when I was really young, I'd like it now. Who knows? I'm only going to add a tiny bit of water because we have frozen berries here, so there's going to be water from that. But I just want a tiny bit on the bottom before, you know, all this melts, because it's going to take a minute. I got a half cup, but you'll only need a couple tablespoons. I like to just like wet the sides and get all the sugar off the sides there. And then we're just going to let this cook away. Keep stirring it while the sweetener is dissolving. This is something I do when I got a bunch of other stuff I can do, because it just takes a while and you just got to keep stirring it periodically. So when I'm in the kitchen, this is what I start the day with, and just keep working on it as I work on everything else I need to do that day. So we'll just keep going on that and get on to something else. Ruby red. Just starting to simmer around the edges. You want this just at a simmer. You don't want it at like a super rolling boil. You don't want it to go too far too quick, because allulose does caramelize. It'll caramelize around the edge here, and it could burn if you have it on too high. So I'm going to turn this down once it is all at an even simmer. So as it melts, you can see, because I used frozen, there's a lot of liquid in there. If you use fresh, it'll be a lot less liquid. It'll probably take a lot less time to cook down. Strawberries also take a little bit longer to cook down, so you might still have big chunks of strawberries at the end, so you can puree it or smash it or something with it if you don't want like the big pieces of strawberries. But you can also pre-cut your strawberries if you want to make sure you don't have chunks at the end. I have this on about medium heat right now. We'll turn it down a tiny bit more, but we're at a good place. It's not quite at a full simmer yet. Simmering around the edges, but as soon as I stir it, it goes away. So not warm all the way through yet. Nice simmer now. We're not splattering and boiling like crazy, but that's just a nice rolling simmer. Like that. That's how you want it. So light simmer all the way around. If you have it up too high, it will like splatter and spit everywhere. And just keep stirring it every once in a while until it's nice and thick. Our jam is starting to get thick. Not too much longer and it'll be done. You can definitely see when the bubbles start getting thicker like that. That's when you're getting jammy. Most of the raspberries are broke down by now too. Now the jam is really getting thick. You want it all to look like it's that bubbling, like it's real thick like that. Some of it is still a little soupy, so keep going a little bit longer. It's almost there. It's all pretty thick and bubbly. I think we're gonna call it here. You can also like just put a little bit on like a cold surface. Let it chill for a minute. And kind of like feel the consistency. It's not even fully cooled and it's staying in a puddle. That is good. You can also strain this if you don't want seeds in it. I always forget which one's jelly and which one's jam. Guessing this is jam and jelly is like no seeds. Let's dump this into a quart container. My quart containers are heat proof. At home I'd use a glass jar or glass bowl. We'll go a little bit longer. Last time I just got a quart, so we'll go a little bit longer on it. Made a mess.
A few moments later.
If you do take it too far, the color gets a little bit dingier. Last time I took it a little bit too far, so I think I'm good with this, even if I do get a little bit more than a quart.
You can see it was like getting real thick on the bottom. We're gonna let that cool on the counter before putting it in the fridge. And then maybe I'll get some toast. I don't have a toaster in my bakery though. I have to run upstairs.
Okay, our jam is cooled. This is the jam at refrigerator temperature, around 40-ish degrees, 45. Nice and spreadable consistency. I am going to spread it on this piece of bread. This is, if you let my bread cool completely in the oven, it gets a really thick crust on it and it's not very good. So if you guys have seen my weekly updates, my May weekly updates, you know that I was trying everything to get my bread not to sink in my new ovens. So I have a lot of bread that I need to eat up. So I saved it. I threw out probably 60 loaves, but I saved some of them. So that's what this is. So we're gonna do some spreading, which I don't even know if I have a butter knife. I don't.
I should make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Looks delicious.
Cut off some of the crust there because it's not very good. The bread that actually comes out is delicious, and I am going to be redoing that recipe at some point here, or that video I should say. Let's try the jam. Even with all the allulose in there, it's still tart. So you still have a tart raspberry taste. I'm not a big fan of seeds, at least not raspberry seeds. Strawberry seeds I can kind of deal with. These kind of bug me, but it looks prettier and you get more yield out of it if you don't take all the seeds out. But it's pretty delicious. Hope you guys enjoyed this keto jam recipe. You can make so many different jams. I do blueberry, blackberry, raspberry, strawberry, any kind, and even cranberry sauce, which I think when I made my cranberry sauce recipe, I used monk fruit or erythritol, but you can also use allulose in that. So very versatile, and I use this recipe for so many things. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below if you've made it and enjoyed it and what you've put it in or on. Don't forget to check out my Amazon links and the blog link to the full recipe in the description box below. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, I'll be back with more keto dessert recipes. Bye guys.